The day my son called me a burden, he didn't know I'd already signed the papers. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just nodded and let him finish talking. Because sometimes the quietest decisions change everything. I'm 74 years old. I worked 42 years at the same manufacturing plant in Ohio. Never late. Never fired. Never asked for much. When my wife, Carol, passed away 6 years ago, the house became too quiet, too empty. That's when my son Daniel suggested I move in with him. "Dad, you shouldn't be alone," he said. "We have space. The kids would love having you around." For a while, it felt good to be needed again. I helped my grandkids with homework. I packed their lunches. I told them stories about how their grandmother used to dance in the kitchen. I thought I was contributing. I thought I belonged. But little things started changing. Daniel began sighing more often. My daughter-in-law, Melissa, stopped smiling the way she used to. Conversations would pause when I walked into the room. One night, I heard them talking in the kitchen. "She's right," Daniel whispered. "We can't keep living like this." Living like what? I paid for my own groceries. I covered part of the electric bill. I stayed mostly in my room. Still, I felt it. That slow shift from welcome to tolerated. Then, one Tuesday evening, Daniel asked me to talk. The kids were upstairs. Melissa was out. He stood in the living room with his arms crossed and avoided looking at me. "Dad, things have been stressful. The house feels crowded." "Crowded? I live in one bedroom. I just think maybe it would be better if you found somewhere else. A senior apartment. Assisted living. Something more comfortable." He hesitated before adding the words that stayed with me. "It's just we didn't expect this to feel like such a burden." A burden. After 42 years of working overtime, so he could go to college. After buying his first car. After helping him with his mortgage. A burden. I looked at my son and saw someone I didn't recognize in that moment. Not an enemy, just someone overwhelmed. I didn't argue. I didn't remind him of everything I had done. I simply nodded slowly and said, "Okay," because what he didn't know was that I had already been preparing. 2 months earlier, I had visited a lawyer. Not out of anger, but out of reality. When Carol died, she left everything to me. The house, the savings, the life insurance. Daniel always assumed it would eventually become his. So I made changes quietly. I created a trust. A large portion of my estate is now set aside for my grandchildren's education. Another portion goes to a community center that provides meals for elderly people living alone. I wanted my life's work to continue helping people. Even after I'm gone, Daniel will still receive something. But he won't control everything. And he won't inherit it under the assumption that he is entitled to it. Within 3 weeks, I found a small one-bedroom apartment. It has a big window and quiet mornings. Moving day felt heavy. The grandkids cried when I hugged them goodbye. That hurt more than anything. Daniel carried my last box to the car and asked, "Are you mad at me?" I looked at him and said, "No, I'm adjusting." That wasn't anger. It was acceptance. 8 months have passed since then. Something unexpected happened. I feel lighter. I joined a morning coffee group. I volunteer twice a week. I started working with wood again, building small furniture pieces like I used to. Last Sunday, Daniel visited alone. He looked tired, older somehow. He sat at my kitchen table and stared at his hand for a long time. "Dad, I've been thinking about that night." I waited. I shouldn't have called you a burden. There were no dramatic tears. Just regret. Quiet and honest. I guess I didn't realize everything you sacrificed. I got overwhelmed. Life does that. Pressure turns gratitude into resentment if we're not careful. Before he left, he asked, "Are we okay?" I thought about it. About the word burden. About 42 years. About the trust one created. About Carol. And I answered carefully, "We're okay, son. But respect, once it breaks, takes time to rebuild." He nodded. This time, he understood. I don't hate my son. I love him more than he knows. I never regretted helping him build his life. But growing older has taught me something important. You can love your children deeply without surrendering your dignity. Sometimes the strongest decision a parent can make is stepping back, not out of anger, but out of self-respect. And sometimes the lesson children learn comes not from arguments, but from absence and reflection.